right after Biden, you have Rishi Sunak, United Kingdom Prime Minister, who reaches Israel right after Biden. He arrives into Israel to show solidarity, meets with Israeli President and the Prime Minister Netanyahu. Those are first images right here on India Today of Rishi Sunak, who's just visited Israel to show solidarity. The British Prime Minister landed in and as part of this visit, has met with the President Isaac as well as the Prime Minister Netanyahu before he travels to other regional capitals. This is his first visit as he shows solidarity to victims of this war and, of course, siding with the Israel government at the moment. Let me cut across to Gaurav Sawant, who joins us for more on that. Gaurav, after Biden, Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak, now arriving to show solidarity with Israel. What's lined up for him?
This solidarity is not just in words, but also in action on ground. The British flotilla is also in the Mediterranean Sea, operating in tandem with the two U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups. And this shows that Britain is committed to supporting Israel in Israel's war against Hamas terrorists. But this is also a twin-pronged strategy. The effort is also to ensure that British citizens at the Gaza Strip can be safely evacuated through the Rafah route, taken to Egypt, and from Egypt brought on board these British warships and then taken to safety. That's effort one. Effort two, also ensure that hostages, the 200-plus Israeli hostages in Hamas custody, they can be released in turn. Humanitarian aid can be provided to the people at Gaza Strip. So there is a multi-pronged effort that world leaders are making. The U.S. president made that effort while showing solidarity with Israel in Israel's war against Hamas. The effort is also to ensure that this does not become a wider Arab-Israel conflict because tempers are high, emotions extremely high. The explosion at the hospital in Gaza Strip, the information warfare that's being waged to occupy mind space in the Arab world, all of that, this war is now being fought at multiple levels, and it's trench warfare on ground and trench warfare for mind space. That is why democracies seem to be coming together against Hamas terror. This is not a war on the Arab world. This is not a war on the Palestinian people, is the message that Israel is repeatedly trying to give out, at the same time warning countries like Lebanon and Iran not to get involved or there would be massive consequences. In case Tel Aviv and Jerusalem are targeted by Hezbollah, there would be no Beirut, is the message that Israel has very strongly sent out while targeting Hezbollah strongholds in the past 12 hours. Nabila.
Gaurav, even as Israel at this point really hurt and is doing everything to avenge its death of civilians, we see that the death toll in Gaza is also on the rise. And while the world leaders descend into Tel Aviv, holding talks with Benjamin Netanyahu, they also at the same breath are announcing aid to Gaza, humanitarian aid, and also condemning the attacks, or at least insisting on this war to end at the earliest.
You're absolutely right, because there's anguish, there's pain on both sides of this Gaza fence right now. Thousands of people are also suffering all along the Gaza Strip. And Israel, of course, says it's the Hamas that is to be blamed for this. Action needs to be taken against Hamas. It's Hamas that's holding the people of Gaza Strip hostage. And Israel continues to target the Hamas leadership. Even last night, there were multiple attacks that were mounted, both from air and ground. At the same time, Israel clarifying again this morning that all evidence indicates that it wasn't an Israeli airstrike or artillery strike that targeted the hospital, but an Islamic Jihad rocket that misfired. And all evidence, according to Israel, indicates that this was a rocket that Hamas fired from a cemetery. The Islamic Jihad fired from a cemetery close to the hospital, and it fell midway, it exploded midway. The propellant in the rocket caused the massive fire on ground and the loss of life from the explosion that took place when the rocket hit the ground prematurely. So all of these are indications, evidence that the Israeli government intends to produce even at the United Nations, saying it's Hamas and Islamic Jihad that's holding people off the Gaza Strip hostage to their war against Israel. So this is very, very complex and complicated. Even as we travel through the Gaza border this morning, Israeli rockets and artillery continue to target Hamas strongholds to eliminate their military and financial leadership.
Right. Gaurav, as you mentioned about the Gaza hospital attack, we know that Israeli military has given sufficient evidence to show that the explosion, according to them, was a result of a misfired rocket by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group. But nonetheless, we understand international agencies like the British intelligence themselves carrying out an independent investigation into this blast. Is that right?
Well, several organizations globally will independently verify this. And Israel, of course, says they've got evidence in the form of footage that was shot by a private television channel, satellite imagery, their own radar signatures, their own drone footage. All of it indicates that this was a misfired rocket of the Islamic Jihad. It remains to be seen what ultimately emerges. And that is why, Nabila, this is a very crucial information war that's also being fought, because even as these images, went viral globally, you had several Arab countries. Protests started almost simultaneously, and the apprehension is that this could escalate. There could be more attacks. Iran's called for Israel's ambassadors to be sent back from various countries. It's also called for oil and fuel supply to Israel be stopped. So tensions continuously rising in this area as Israel continues to target Hamas leadership. Israel is very clear. They will continue to target Hamas leadership to ensure Hamas does not remain a terror threat to the people of Israel ever again, or Hamas will never be allowed to govern Gaza Strip ever again.
And the tragedy is that the scores of Palestinians who are currently completely displaced have nowhere to go. They're really stuck in around those areas where constant bombarding is taking place by the Israeli air forces. Even the Muslim countries, or the Islamic Brotherhood as they call themselves, none of them allowing these Palestinians right now to enter their country. They themselves are threatened by the influx of refugees coming in. So this is a really sad situation for those people who wanting to flee this war or the site of war. Palestinians particularly have really nowhere to go. Thanks very much, Gaurav, for joining us on that. You have Rishi Sunak, who's just about landed in Tel Aviv. His meetings are with the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Isaac.